Hello and welcome to this tutorial on masks in After Effects. So this tutorial is going to talk about the basics of mask usage, all of the possibilities that you would possibly need as a, beginning After Effects user. Of course, I'm not discussing every single thing that you can do with a mask, but for a beginner, this should be enough to at least get you started. Anyway, let's just get into it. Okay, here we are in After Effects. We're going to start off with a new composition so we can actually demonstrate some stuff. It's going to be 1280 by 720, as you might have noticed, 30 frames per second, but all of that really doesn't matter. We're going to start off with a new layer, and if you're having questions about layers, there's a tutorial about that as well. I'm going to pick a little bit of a more easy on the eyes color than I used in my previous tutorial. So there you go. It's a very ugly kind of yellow. But today we are discussing masks. So masks can be made in several ways. First of all, we have these tools, I guess. The rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, and star tool. And they can be used in combination with each other to make, well, virtually any shape. And for the shapes that you can't make with those, you can actually just use the pen tool, and the pen tool draws a mask directly on the screen, which is very useful. We're going to demonstrate the effect in two types of layers. As you might have noticed, I put a solid as my first one. The shape layer is going to be the second one. Yeah, the shape layer is a different type of layer because it uses the same tool to make shapes, and that means that we have to address certain things when using shape layers. We're first going to discuss this solid though. So solids can just be used once you select them. You can use the ellipse tool in this case to make a mask. You can also make multiple masks in one thing. Oh, that's a little bit too many things for my demo here. Let's just make it 5. It's kind of the classic star. Yeah, the star, and we also have like rectangles. So yeah, awesome stuff, right? So out of this, we can also see that every mask creates its own mask property in, well, our layer, and we can go into those properties and see all kinds of stuff. So this last one is our rectangle. Let's say that we want it to be exactly square. We can click on next to the mask path on shape, and we can see here how our rectangle actually behaves. So where it goes, or where it is, where where all the points are. Well, not the actual points here, because for some reason they didn't do that. They took just left, right, top, bottom. So if you want to make it an exact square, you can, for example, make this 450 to 650, and this one 650 to 850, and it will be 200 from left to right, 200 from top to bottom, and you just hit OK, and it will be an exact square. Well, going back to the shape tool, you can also change this into a perfect circle. It's still 200 by 200. You can set it to reset to ellipse, and it will change into a circle. And well, you can of course use that with the time variance as well. So you can make keyframes where it first is a square and then it becomes a circle over time. It will work perfectly. It's a fairly easy tool. For now, we're going to just reset it to rectangle, so we have all 3 of them. So if you combine these masks, so if you overlap them, oh, let me select it. So if you overlap them, you will see that in the end result, they will just fit together, and that's why you can make virtually any shape out of them, because you can just say, like, I want my rectangle, or I want a circle here, and then I want a rectangle underneath it, and they're just going to be connected. So you don't have to draw all of the shapes that you want to. You can just overlap them, and well, the only one who sees how complicated the actual setup is you. The thing is, you don't want complicated setups sometimes, and that is when you use the pen tool. So let's say we want some kind of really obscure shape. We can just use, with the layer selected, we can use the pen tool to create any mask that we want. So there are several things that you need to keep in mind. First of all the points are editable afterwards. Then if you click very short, then yeah, you get these sharp edges. If, however, you click and drag, you get these handles on your points. And you can make the same points as I had underneath, and it becomes a completely different shape. You can, of course, transform these points into these points by using, and I'm just holding the button here until this menu shows, Convert Vertex tool. You can convert the points into other types. You can see now it's sharp, and if I click these, you can make these round. And you can, with the selection tool, then edit these values, so the handles basically. You can drag them out. You can even, if you want to, yeah, if you misclick, then it will select the background and it will get off of your mask, so you have to reselect it. You can make any shape. You can even do something like this, and you only need 3 points to make this entire shape. So if you're like, yeah, but I want to make a heart shape, for example, right? I want to make a heart shape. We can do that by using these kind of transformations, or, well, however you want to call them, into kind of a heart shape first, and then we're going to just edit 2 of the points with the Convert Vertex tool. You can do it with 2 points, in fact, so you can you only need the top and the bottom point to make a heart, and then you can just adjust them until you're satisfied with your shape. So for example, if I want it a little rounder, that can be done, and of course I need to mirror that on the other side, and there you go, you have a heart. So you can use these kind of shapes to make whatever you want, and yeah, the thing is just to learn how to use them properly so that you can get the shape that you want. But it's all possible. You can definitely use whatever you want with these masks, and it's very easy to use. You can, of course, also use the standard shapes by making a triangle out of the star tool, or the polygon tool. That will work as well. So the polygon tool and the star tool work in a similar way. You just click and drag, and then you set the size, and with your mouse wheel you can increase the amount of sides. So yeah, triangles, just scroll all the way down, you will get a triangle. If you scroll all the way up, you get a circle. Well, what's supposed to be a circle. It's of course way more efficient if you do it with the ellipse tool, but you can make it with this as well. So yeah, the star tool has an additional quality on top of this, because it obviously has 2 edges. It has the outer edge, it has the inner edge, and if you hold control, you can control the outer edge, and if you don't hold it, you scale the entire thing. So you have to work with it a little bit and then say like, okay, I want this or this or this or whatever you want. You can make all kinds of stars. Once again, the mouse wheel up, well, makes more, and the mouse wheel down makes less. So apparently 3 is the minimum, which is okay. So yeah, that's all I have to say about masks on the solid. Then the shape layer works exactly the same. Let's hide this one and bring up the shape layer. The shape layer has a fill that you can set and a stroke that you can set. Obviously you don't need to do that for the solid because it has its own color. And we're going to set this, and then the stroke is a little bit high here, so let's set it to a few pixels. If we draw a mask here, then we will see one thing. First of all, this is not a mask. This is actually a shape. It says so here. It's a polystar. If we want to have a mask, let's draw a few of them so we can actually see what we're doing. If you want to have a mask, you need to click this button which says Tool Creates Mask. And then our tool, instead of being making a shape, it will actually make a mask. And you can see that that's why I drew them. They actually shine through wherever I have the mask, but if I deselect everything, this is what we see. So the stroke and the fill are for the shapes, and you can see that, yeah, in the content you see all of this, in the masks you see only one. And yeah, you can definitely see the difference in them. and you can use the combination of masks and shapes to make your shape layer into even more fun to work with. So yeah, the entire thing about masks is just learn to work with them and don't make masks like this. So if you want to make a mask, don't do this, because that is super inefficient. It's very hard to edit, and this is, by the way, not even a mask. I had no layer selected, so it will automatically make a shape layer, and with the thing selected and the tool creates mask selected, I can make one of these masks. So yeah, don't make it like this. This is a very inefficient shape, and you have way too many points. You can't edit all of these points to be like super well aligned. What you need to do if you want to make a if you wanted to make this mask, then what you need to do is, hang on, I want to delete this mask because it's becoming a little bit messy here. So delete this. If you want to make this, we're going to just select the pen tool. We're going to make 1 point over here and 1 point over here, and just say, like, maybe one in the middle. We need a third point, so yeah, there you go. And now we can drag this, actually we can probably delete this one. I don't know how it will react to that. Oh, okay, it works fine. So yeah, there you can see it's the same shape. I only have 2 points and I can just edit those at will. So it's the same mask, it does exactly the same, and I have full control over how it goes. If I want to make like a choppy mask like before, then yeah, you need to make multiple points. By the way, you can also add points to the mask after you created it. So if I say, like, yeah, I need another point here to make this into more of a disc shape, then yeah, then you can just add points to the mask. You can even do that while animating a mask. You cannot remove points from a mask while animating, because it will remove them from every single frame, and that would of course not be good. Yeah, here you can see how this works. It's very easy to learn. You just have to practice. That's the only thing you need to really do. Okay, going back to our original layer, so this one, the ugly one, and we're going to remove all of the masks here because we want to start over, and you will see that yeah, this is just one field now. So what we want to do now is combine masks to make different shapes. So let's make a star, yeah, 5-point star. Control to edit the, well, the actual value. So yeah, first of all, I want you to know that if you hold Shift while creating a mask, you can actually set it to have, well, just 0 rotation. Either, well, yeah, it's always 0 in this case. Shift also works on lines and such. So if I want to make a line from here to the next point, then if I hold Shift while doing that, it will make an exactly straight line, and obviously it doesn't want to. So even if I'm off by like a little bit, it will still create a straight line. And of course the closing point will be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, you can reset that if you really want to by going to Shape, Reset to Rectangle. There you go. Now it's a straight one. So just wanted to give you that bit of information, but that was not why we were here. We're going to duplicate this mask by using Control D or Edit Duplicate, and we're going to set this mask to something else, in this case Subtract. And you can see that now we can't see anything anymore, so the entire thing is gone. If we, however, use the expansion on this mask, we can create a star like this. So even though the original star is completely filled, we can easily change that into a star that's not completely filled. So how does this work? We have several properties on our masks. So let me delete this entire shape layer. We have properties on our masks. So we have path, which is basically the points that you have on your mask. You can edit them by just grabbing one and then dragging it around, and you can see that, well, it just works like that. it's fairly easy. Both of the masks were selected here. That's why the inner point also got selected. So if I just do this and I lock this mask, then we can see that oh, I locked both masks. Very smart. So if I just lock the other mask, then you can see that, yeah, the outer mask changes but the inner mask does not. Anyway, how this works is basically I draw on this shape, which is basically a piece of paper, so this original shape, this one. Then I duplicate it, and oh, let me actually duplicate it. So I duplicate it. Now it's two of the same shape on top of each other. Then the top layer is, so masks work exactly the opposite way of layers. Layers, the higher in the hierarchy you are, the more you are on top. So the highest layer is on top. However, the lowest mask is on top. So this one is on top of this one. Which means that if I say subtract, it will cut through everything that's behind it. Which means it will cut through this mask, and since they're exactly the same, nothing will remain. Well, a little bit of diffusion there, so you can actually see a little bit of a shape still. That's why you should never remove a mask like this. Anyway, we have several things that we can do with the masks. I will set this to add, and I will just show you. So feather, first of all. Feather is, well, mask path I already discussed. Feather is the ability to soften your mask, and there you have it. You can, I can better demonstrate this, I think, on a rectangle. Well, I didn't have my layer selected there. So yeah, there we have a rectangle, and if we hit feather on that, feather is F. So just select your mask and hit F. Then that's what becomes of my original. If I set it back to 0, you will see that, yeah, all the lines are back to sharp again, and that's what's happening here as well. I obviously have two of them, that's why it doesn't really show up. So this becomes almost like was that pentagon, I guess. And if I feather it less, you can still see the star shape, and if I set it to 0, then obviously it will be the original one again. So it's basically, it softens the edges. It just makes the transition from the background color to, or whatever is on the back of this one, to the front color. It makes it a little more gradual. So it can be very useful. It's one of the most useful abilities of a mask, because especially if you're editing video footage, it's really, really useful. So opacity, yeah, that's the same opacity as we had with our layers. I have two masks, so yeah. It's just how much of the background color shows through and how much of the foreground color, so the actual star color, shines through. It's very easy to understand, and this one is personally my favorite. Expansion. You can use it to basically throw off the mask. So if you have a circular mask in particular, it's very useful, because as you can see, the star kind of gets deformed. Holding shift, by the way, makes, well, I said it makes straight lines and it makes the thing set to 0, but that's always the case with a sphere, or well, an ellipse. It will always be set to 0. If you hold shift, it will become a perfect circle. So if we have the perfect circle and we go to the expansion, you will see that it stays a perfect circle. And you can use that even to go far outside of the boundaries. It will be completely sharp on the edges, and you will just be able to use it to tune your masks. Even though you may only have a very small mask, you can still make it super large, and it will keep the same shape. And as I said, especially with the the ellipse layers, it's very, very useful. So let's go back to our original star. So what it does is it just creates an offset on the mask, and it will say, well, all the pixels that are less than 20 away from my lines will also be colored, which means that these sharp points will become round, because, well, everything around them is 20 pixels away. and everything inside is of course less than 20 pixels away. So the further you put it out, the less sharp all these edges become. This one will still be relatively sharp, but eventually of course everything will turn out into a sphere, and it will just be one big circle. So what I did to combine these masks is I duplicated the mask. I set it to subtract, which means that it cuts through the one behind it, and then I set the expansion to minus, which means that, well, if we do too far, you can see once again now these things become kind of circles, you can see that, and well, the sharp ones stay relatively sharp. But if we do it only a little bit, the deformation will be very minimal. You can see, however, that they are rounded here, but it will not be noticed too much. Plus, it looks kind of natural. So we can also make a secondary one. So we can make this one, for example, expand a little bit to the outside, and then you will have the effect on both sides. So there will be round corners here and round corners here, and then it will become more of a friendly star. You can of course round off these corners as well if you really want to, but you'll have to add one more mask. So we have multiple things that you can actually do with this. You can also say intersect, and that only leaves this middle part, because this second mask, because it has a negative expansion, has well, only this middle part. The top mask, however, has everything outside as well. Like it's way bigger. It's up to here at this moment. So it is way bigger, but intersect will select only those things that are on both masks. Or if I add another mask on top of this, so duplicate this one and make it over here. If I take the mask path here and just drag it away, then you can see that even though at this moment nothing is happening, if I set this one to intersect as well, only this part will be left, because the intersect mask looks at the one above it. That one now looks at the one above it. So basically these two get meshed up first, which becomes a shape that is, well, quite similar to this one, only a little bit bigger. So up till here, and then here, and then here. And then, oh, I can actually show you. There you go. It becomes this shape. And then if I add this mask, which is also an intersect mask, this one will look at the one up top. This is the small star, so it will only cut out what all three masks see at this moment. If, as I showed you already, I set this one to add, then the intersect will only look at the one mask above it, and nothing will happen furthermore. So this one will not do anything, basically. It's a completely useless mask at this point, but you can therefore intersect multiple masks to get the shape that you want. So outside of the intersect, then, yeah, we have lighten and darken, and yeah, they're just different effects. You can try them out. I'm not going to end difference. Yeah, difference is kind of a cool effect every now and then. But yeah, you can test them out. I'm not going to explain them in this introduction. I just wanted to keep it very simple, and basically wanted to just show you the basics. The one thing I haven't done yet is show you the inverted, that's what it's called. Once I have this mask and I have the expansion set, if I hit inverted, it will select everything but what I just selected. So making this expansion larger will in fact make the hole in the layer larger. So it will do exactly the opposite of what the layer will do. And yeah, that can be very, very useful. So you can of course make this a subtract mask, then it will not subtract, or it will subtract the outside and keep the inside, which is exactly the same in this case as just this. So instead of subtracting the inverted mask, it will add the non-inverted mask, which is kind of strange, but yeah, that's the way it is. Of course, the same goes for the additive mask. It is just a subtract mask if you invert it. But yeah, for the intersect, it is definitely useful. You can get a whole lot done with it. But with some of the others, it is a combination as well that can be useful. So inverted just reverses the layer, or the mask, into doing exactly the opposite. Well, actually it selects everything outside of the mask instead of everything inside of the mask. That's what it does. It doesn't just say like I make a subtract mask from an additive mask. It's a little more subtle than that, but yeah, you can see that the invert mask is actually useful at times because you can select what you want to keep normally and then hit the add mask. But you can also, if you have like a huge amount that you want to keep and you just want to create some kind of mask to get something out, yeah, sometimes you can do that with the subtract mask, and sometimes you need to do that with an inverted mask. So anyway, hope you learned something today, and I will see you next time.